Hello, everyone. Welcome to Online Seller UK podcast. My name is Prabhat, founder at Online Seller UK. And today I've got a really interesting topic as always. So today we'll be talking about e-commerce accounting. And I'm joined by Marlon, co-founder of Uncommon Practice, which is a specialist on e-commerce accounting. So Marlon, welcome to our podcast.
Hi, you okay? How you doing?
Excellent. So good here. So Marlon, why don't you introduce yourself, your company, before we go on to the topic?
Okay, so I'm a qualified accountant in the UK, and my business is called the Uncommon Practice, with a segment that are the Uncommon Accountants. We've got the Uncommon Accountants, Uncommon Lawyers, and Uncommon Consultants, helping you to grow your business with a view to sell it, and all the other bits to go with it, finance related.
Okay, excellent. So accounting part, I've got to be honest, I personally don't like it. That's why there's an accountant to do the work. And I'm sure any online seller, it's a difficult thing to manage because if I personally think about it, for me, accounting does not generate any revenue. It's part of the things needs to be done for a business. It needs to be something that I need to keep record legally. So when we talk about e-commerce accounting, it's more complex from what I understand. So do you want to talk us through, what's e-commerce accounting means, how does it differ from any other accounting?
I suppose you've got traditional accountancy, e-commerce accountants, the new bracket, if you like. And you need to be a qualified accountant. The taxes are the same, the year-end accounts are the same, but there are certain differences between traditional accountants and e-commerce accountants. E-commerce accountants are definitely tech savvy, I'd say, open to change. I worked in a business for years, a traditional accountancy business, and they're not really open to change. They're very steady. They do what they did last year, that sort of thing. We look at different applications and say, how can our business get more efficient? How can our recording get more efficient? So yeah, we're more tech savvy, and I suppose we have to understand the terminology. When I first got into the space, people band around different terminologies, PL, private label, FBA, all these things. And I suppose when you're talking to an e-commerce accountant, they have to understand these things, because you don't have to explain them to them every time you speak. And traditional accountants don't really understand those, just because they haven't been in the space, not because they couldn't do it if they tried. They're just not in that space. There are some e-commerce specific issues, particularly VAT. So with VAT and with moving goods around Europe. So I suppose you're an international business, even though you're sitting there and running it from a coffee shop or your bedroom, if you like. So international VAT issues are quite complex. And before this business was around, before e-commerce was around, you'd have to go to a high-powered accountant that's specifically for VAT, the complex issue of VAT. And now more and more people know about it. And yeah, but it's needed. You absolutely need it. And I think the biggest thing for me is the e-commerce community. So like you with podcasts, you will know a cross section of the e-commerce community, and how they work. So they talk in Facebook groups, they talk to each other and let each other know about contacts they know. They basically tell each other everything apart from where they get the products from and how much. So that sort of thing. And I really like that, because they're almost like lone rangers. They're on their own, or there might be two of them, but they've got really nobody to talk to. So they need that community feel. They need, even though they might be around the world, they've got clients around the world, but they're in Facebook communities, and I talk to them in there. The issue sometimes is that somebody in New Zealand giving advice in a Facebook group might, with all good intentions, they might think it's the right advice, but it might not be. So you just have to be a bit careful. But I think the community itself, the way that questions are asked and answered within these Facebook groups, I think it's great. So yeah, that I would say they would be the main differences for me between traditional and e-commerce accountants.
Okay, sure. Before we started recording, you mentioned again you've got clients all over the world, and you've started helping them start to establish in the UK presence. So, talk us through what are some of the key things or important things that somebody needs to know when they establish presence in the UK.
I try and get them to understand. Well, I suppose VAT. So if you're in the US, got sales tax, which is completely different from VAT, the way it works, and VAT is really complex, and sometimes it's more beneficial, for example, to go on a flat rate scheme. And even the word scheme in the US is not the same as over here. These are government run things. These are good things, whereas in the US it might be classed as a bad thing, even that word. But I suppose knowing VAT and knowing what happens when you move your goods around within the EU and the UK would be the first thing, because everything else, deadlines, taxes, etc., I'm going to do for you. So I want you to know about it, but I don't need you to be an expert on it, because you might be selling in Canada, in Australia, in Germany. And who's going to be an expert on all the laws and regulations in every single country? So where the community thing comes in again, I've got CPAs that I know in Canada that will register you for GST over there, and lawyers in the US that can set up an LLP for you. But I couldn't do that. I'm a UK advisor. You can't. You just can't be an advisor all around the world. In every jurisdiction. So yeah, I would say that. I would say find a good advisor first, from what we talked about earlier. Somebody knows what they're doing, and somebody who can sort of handhold you. It's almost like you have a friend in this country that a go-to person that you can ask anything, really, because accountants generally are trusted advisors. Where you might come and ask me a question about investments, I will send you to the right person. I won't necessarily do it myself. So yeah, I would say that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, cool. So we know that we with the online platforms, but now take example of Amazon, eBay, and Shopify, and all the other platforms, selling platforms we have. So they all can connect with some sort of application to report VAT and things like that. So is there any, with this application, can a seller do it themselves, or is there any complicated bit around setting up applications? So do you want to talk about any automation sort of? That's what I'm trying to get at. So yeah. So let's talk about automation on accounting. I think that's the right. I went long way around. So let's talk about automation. So how do we automate these processes?
You can automate it to an extent, and I suppose what I like to do is almost say, what do you need? And most sellers will be the same, and they'll be on similar platforms with similar softwares and similar links. So you might have either A2X or Link My Books that extracts the information from Seller Central, pops it into something like Xero, connects to Xero. We've got a bank feed that comes in from the bank account with all the information, and I suppose sometimes it is the user. So let's say if you wanted me, I won't necessarily sell you. I'm not going to sell you something that you don't need. So if you don't need all these applications, because it won't really make your life that much easier compared to the cost of them. A lot of people do it on an Excel spreadsheet. Up to a certain level and a certain number of SKUs. But if you're integrating everything, then our team can come along and we can have a light touch. We can say, does this work? This is how you should be doing it. Let's link these things up and come back in a month's time and have a look to see what you've done. Or we can do it all. It depends on the person, because depending on the size of your business and your turnover and how much time it takes and what else you've got in your life, should you be doing it yourself, or should you be concentrating on running your business, researching products, researching new marketplaces, etc. So I suppose it differs for different people. Some people think that we'll just press a button and everything will be done, and it doesn't work like that. unfortunately. A lot of the heavy lifting, I've been in accountancy a while now, and a lot of the heavy lifting is done with things like HubDoc, with artificial intelligence reading invoices and almost after a while recognizing what it is and suggesting, should I put it here? You know, and so that's taken a lot of time out of things like bookkeeping, but you still get a lot of issues with different things, especially if you do arbitrage and you've got loads and loads of invoices. So yeah, it has made it easier, but it's not just a press a button and we're done.
Yeah, I'm sure. Otherwise, you know, you and me wouldn't have a job if there was all automation in some ways. So no, excellent. So so you mentioned a couple of Link My Books, and what other tool you mentioned earlier? Sorry.
A2X, so Amazon to
A2X.
yeah.
Yeah. So these two tools are commonly used. So that's good. So then if we talk about then expansion into the other countries, so things haven't been as easy as it should be, as we know, earlier this year. So for cross-border trading businesses, you know, a lot of people I know of who used to trade quite a lot in Germany, they basically stopped trading completely because it was too much difficult to move the stock around. So at some part of the journey of online sellers, let's take Amazon sellers mainly here. So they do want to expand to other countries because Amazon enables to, you know, like you said, you know, you could be a smaller business or larger business. Everyone has the opportunity to expand internationally. So now there comes a time to decide, you know, what is the right way forward to expand to Germany. And there are certain elements you may need to think about to plan for expansion. Do you want to focus a little bit on that?
Yeah, with Germany in particular and Europe, I suppose it was pre-Brexit and what happened with that, with Amazon and Amazon sellers and e-commerce sellers, they have to have workarounds because even the government are 5 years behind them. Everybody's 5 years behind them. So there are workarounds everywhere, and everybody was on the EFN, sending goods from the UK directly to customers. Amazon were trying to get people on Pan-EU because it was easier for them, but there was a lot more to it than that. And then they stopped the EFN, so everybody then crowded to get VAT registered in Germany and get their goods over to Germany, and then they could cross border from Germany to fulfill from Germany to, say, Italy. And Germany, being the most efficient of the countries, then realized, wow, a lot of people want VAT VAT numbers over here. So yeah, there's a backlog of, I don't know, 6 to 9 months at one point. So it was difficult, but people had to do it, and people did it. And then all of a sudden, Amazon said, we're opening up the EFN again. So I suppose you shouldn't just follow straight away, right? Let's deregister in Germany, get the stock back over here. Because what you could be doing is looking at your margins and looking at your costs. So what do you have to sell the product for to make any money if you're going to fulfill it from the UK, because of the prices of the EFN, which are quite expensive. So can we get our goods into Germany? What is the level where we get our goods into Germany? And then we have to be VAT registered in Germany and have those costs associated with the admin. So it's a plan for me. I like to sit down with a client and just plan that out and just say, don't just dive in, don't just deregister in Germany, because if it's better to stay there, it's better to be registered in Germany and get your stock there, then it's going to be harder again, because you're going to have to re-register down the line, and it just becomes a mess. If you don't plan it, it becomes a mess. Same with Pan-EU. A lot of people had checked the box just because Amazon had said, we'll move your goods around Europe, and they checked the box, not understanding what that actually meant. So you need to understand what it means, and the implications of it, not just from a selling point of view, but from a cost point of view. So yeah, I would say a strategic plan, I would say.
Yeah, that's a good advice. I think it's EFN opening up, certainly it's it's open opportunity for a lot of sellers which otherwise wouldn't have
Yeah.
done pan-European, certainly. But
Yeah.
like you mentioned, the calculation of the cost of EFN is important part. Okay, so I think we've discussed quite a few things here today. So I think we can come to a close. So thank you again for your time, Marlon, today. So if somebody is to find you and wants to have a chat with you, where's the best place to get to you and find you, Marlon?
Online, the Uncommon Practice or the Uncommon Accountants on our webpage. We've got a form on there. Just get in touch.
Excellent. Thanks again, Marlon, for your time today. And I'll speak to you soon.
Bye-bye.
All the
Thank
best.
you.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.